I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg. Regrettably today.
Wow, that's a rather long extension to your name, but you know.
I know. It's like PhD.
Well, be it the case whether you extend your name or not, we are the CRM Playaz, and it's really nice right now in Atlanta. But if we had been doing this about 20, 30 minutes ago, I don't think we'd be doing this because it was like a thunderstorm, and I traditionally try to get under a table when I see a lot of thunder and lightning going on.
Yeah, no, I get it. And you guys get thunderstorms a lot, actually.
Well, down here in the metro area, usually the summertime, it's like a daily occurrence. Hello, Dorothea. Look at that.
Hey, Dorothea.
That's very nice. Yes, yes. See, it was raining earlier, and I was just saying that you would never imagine it because I'm literally staring at a completely blue sky, sun, and it's amazing that 30 minutes ago it looked like we were getting ready to hit Armageddon.
Well, you know what? Thank God you survived.
Yeah. Look, we actually got a fan. I was going to say fans, but a fan.
That's the thing behind you.
Well, yeah.
That's the only fan I know.
But no.
Dorothea says she is, but which we actually appreciate her. I am really wondering who that guy is on her Facebook picture.
That's Ali Velshi.
I can't see it. Not that clear to me.
Yeah, she's.
Oh yeah.
For
God's sake, you're right. Oh my God.
That's how big time she is. She stands with Ali Velshi. I stand with Joe, whoever Joe is. Guy named Joe.
Not Joe in the morning on MSNBC. I
hope. No, but that's besides the point. But anyway, so it is another CRM Playaz Weekly, and as usual, we got a lot of I love when we get a comment from a LinkedIn user. They don't tell you who the person is, but I'm guessing I know who it is. You think
it is?
I think it's somebody that will be on the show later, but I don't know exactly.
Actually, he won't be if I don't send him the link, which I realized I did.
Yeah, right. Well,
I'll do it right now.
You do that, and we'll save the mystery for later on. But anyway, we are going to be talking about a lot of different things, and we actually, she did so well last week. The third Thursday is always meant for El Nicole, as in Nicole
right.
France.
The Spanish rebel fighter. She was played by Charlton Heston in a movie in the 50s.
Wow, El Nicole, not to be confused with El Cid. But anyway. She will be joining us in just a few minutes because something happened last week that really got her attention, and we didn't have enough time to talk about it. And when El Nicole wants to talk about something, well, we just have to bring El Nicole back. So that's what we're doing here. Oh, look, it's Finn. That's who it is. We still
we still don't hear his face.
We still don't see your name. You're just LinkedIn user. But we will. Oh, I don't know what's going on with LinkedIn. Why, for whatever reason, Sven can't get his name on there, and neither can Esteban. Because last week, I think Esteban was also a LinkedIn user. So I don't know, guys. You might want to take that up with the good folks at LinkedIn to get your name, claim your name. That's the way I look at it. Okay.
Okay. So I now Esteban should be ready to come on whenever we need him.
Wow, that's a statement I never thought I'd really hear anybody say. He'll be there whenever we need him.
Yeah,
but
he's a different person now.
Yes. Sven, I don't know why we're not seeing your name. It just says LinkedIn user. That's really strange. I don't know. You might want to look into that. And while you're doing that, we're gonna do a little show here. Well, we're going to be doing our watch list winner segment, and I think it's SAP this week. I know it's SAP this week because I know who's going to be representing SAP. That's why we need to get that disclosure thing taken care of. Got to get that whatever. And then, of course, we're getting a lot of comments. Somebody, I think they tried to type stupid, but they typed stipend. I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
But we all make mistakes. All right, there it is. So before we jump into that, and I do have a pins for us.
Oh,
it's a fresh right off the email from like yesterday pins. So
okay.
we'll talk about that later. And of course, we'll talk about whatever L. Nicole wants to talk about. We'll do that too. But before we do that, I always like to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about yesterday's. I was going to say happy hour, but I'm just going to start saying happy 90 because it never ends at like 60 minutes. So
yeah, once again, killed it. Right? It was interesting. I mean, it was a different. We had a fair amount of different crowd yesterday. We had, although we did. I'll tell you what. So I am working on a design for a T-shirt that says "Happy Hour Playaz Happy Hour VIP," right, or something to that effect. Anyway, because we had two people on the happy hour yesterday who were on. One, Donnie Weinstein, was on 6 times now. That was his 6th appearance, and Bob Fagel is on 5 times now.
do we have to count Bob though? I mean, really, do we?
What can we do? We count John. SNL counts John Goodman, Steve Martin, and Alec Baldwin as 5 times. I think Martin Short's now in that club too. So this is, of course, clearly modeled on SNL, right? So we have people who have been on multiple times. They deserve to, get past the bouncers, get some other. If they join the community, they'll get some other things from us. But the idea is that, we're establishing this kind of regular group in addition to a fair amount of new people every week. So this week we had, as just one example, Kenny Lauer, a good friend of both of ours, who was former VP of digital and marketing for the Golden State Warriors, is also now involved in some amazing stuff that it kind of goes even beyond VR and AR. It's almost to the level of holographic, right? It's both holographic voice is just part of it. It's almost impossible to describe. You have to literally hear it. It's kind of amazing. So Kenny was on. We had Jason Lumsden, who runs IT, is one of the key guys in IT at the Boston Red Sox. We had it was a large group of both people from the CRM kind of influencer vendor side and also the practitioner side too. And discussion was fun. I actually did something I don't normally do, which is I had actual alcohol during the event, which was the Lefroy project, which I've promised to give the recipe out to, although to be perfectly honest, no one requested it at all. Right. So, I have to be transparent because it's one of the things we're supposed to be now that we're in the digital age. Right. So, and then, we also had, I asked a question at the end of it, and this is one I'll throw out to, and actually, I'm forgetting the best, actually. Sven was on it. Right. Yes. Sven was on this one. We have been aching to see this guy's smiling face for months, and he finally, we thought we had him last week and he didn't feel too well, so he canceled. I thought, you wonder if he has like butterflies, and got nervous, right? But then this week he was on. He's exactly what we expected, this smiling, happy, smart guy, right? And we totally were just, I don't know about you, but I was just glad to meet him.
After all this time, I mean, actually, I think we need to thank our very first player in residence, Brian Solis, because I think it was because of Brian that Sven started watching the Playaz, because I don't think he knew who we were beforehand.
No.
And yeah, so look, it's Sven is I got to show this. Sven has found a way around this. He's putting his actual name in parentheses so we could see it. That because I was getting ready to start calling him LinkedIn user, but apparently, all right, Sven, we'll go with Sven. So yeah, I'm glad to see him. And look at this. I got a cousin that's actually watching. My cousin, her name is Stephanie, but we all call her Cookie. So, but Cookies, thanks for checking us out. Really appreciate that. It's good to have the family support there. And then look who else is joining us here.
Whoa.
The better part of the Gilmore gang. Tina Hall Chase Gilmore. Nice to have her join us.
The one who makes it all happen.
She really is, because I've been on a couple of Gilmore gang shows lately, and they would not work the way they do if it wasn't for Tina. I mean, Steve is all right. Steve's cool. Tina's really the power behind it. So
I think that's well known to much of the world now.
Sorry, Tina, I am not going to stop it. It's true.
No, that's right.
Okay.
Tina fans here.
Yes, and one more. Oh, what did I put? Oh, yeah, she's winking at us. Okay, so that's okay. All right, very nice. So let's bring on our current, or one of our current players in residence. But while we bring on Nicole, I want you to talk about your T-shirt, because Dorothea actually wants the T-shirt.
Yeah, well, you got to be on the happy hour, Dorothea, for that one. And not only that, you're going to have to be on it at least 5 times.
Wow.
Right. So these are literally 5-timer T-shirts, right? That's the idea, right? We've got 2 people who are there. We got Ray Gerber's making a run for it. He's got 3. I literally did a spreadsheet of the 7 sessions, mostly because I was trying to figure out how to send a note to everybody without duplicating. So, and then I ended up figuring out how many times each person was on. And
Paul, isn't there software that does that?
Yeah, it's called Excel. That's what I did. Right. It's basically cut and paste Eventbrite. No, actually exported Eventbrite attendee lists, alphabetize them, and start literally removing duplicates. Right. That's the sophisticated software. So we've had in the 7 shows, 7 happy hours, if you eliminate the duplication, we've had 87 individuals aside from me and Brent on that show. I mean, on those happy hours so far, which is, we'll talk to you later about that. The thing is that, and then we've had multiple repeats, and there've been, I would say, a good 30% of the people have repeated at least once, right, on the show too, or on the happy hours. They're fun. I mean, basically they're just relaxing and fun, and just, and every now and then we ask a question that sparks a discussion like yesterday, and so on. But, look, I encourage everybody to just come and drink up with us, really.
Yeah.
They are fun, for sure. I've been on a couple. So I'm kind of anticipating this is going to be a little bit like an airline frequent traveler program. You want to get in early, because it's going to get harder and harder to get to the threshold as time goes on, right? Yeah.
Global services is going
absolutely.
Well, that means you're going to have to pay us to get to global services, because you're the top 1% of our paying customers.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as. I think those programs are going to be a bit different after pandemic.
Apparently, according to United, maybe not. Right? That's the thing. Okay, so how about this? We have a new segment that we entitle "One of Us Bitches About Something." Right. Right. So I'm going to bitch about global services, which is a definite first world problem. But so here's the deal. United policy is all the premier flyers get next year at their class of premier service, except global services. And that, because it's invitation only, they'll decide on later. And the way they put it was, but minimally, the global service person will be at least 1K, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for a couple of reasons. Aside from, I'd rather be global services than 1K any day of the week. The reality is this: either everyone gets a year or no one does, meaning you don't pick the people who are literally giving you the top 1% of your ticket spend and basically say, you're the only exception and it's not as good as the other one, what you're going to get. I mean, I have never, if you're dealing with it just from simple business decision, That is literally one of the stupidest business decisions I've ever heard. Again, I don't care really if I'm 1K because I don't intend to fly as much as I've been anyway. But right, the reality is that United easily could lose a global services customer because they're literally not even being treated the same as everybody else in the entire.
It's bad when your VIP customers get less or worse.
Right, that's exactly it.
Like, as if you won't know that as a customer, as if you won't figure that out, that you're being treated not just disequally, but adversely disequally, right? Totally.
It's an astonishing. That's the thing. It just defies intelligence completely, right? This is like just a straight stupid thing. If you're going to make a decision on global services later, be smart enough to announce whatever that decision is with all the other ones at the same time and make them consistent, whatever they are. Don't announce all the other ones saying, yeah, they're all at another year. We'll decide later on global services. But if you don't get it and you are global services now, you'll get 1K at least. Like that's some great thank you, right? For what? Right? I'm sorry, it's my fault. The world has the virus. I must be ground zero. So I won't be global services, nor should anyone else. Right? You should punish us. Right? It's just like, again, I don't actually care. That's more dramatic for dramatic purposes. I'm saying that. But I do care about how stupid a business decision that actually is.
I'd hate to see it if you really did care then.
No, I don't. Honestly, it doesn't actually get me much more.
See, Paul and I suffer from the same problem, which is a base level of indignation that is pretty high, regardless of how much we actually care about the subject. It's very easy to misinterpret, right?
You just work off the base always.
Exactly.
I'm just waiting, since we do have a pilot on with us. Are you going to create your own kind of the loyalty program and start flying your buddies around and help us out maybe?
I'm happy to. The problem is, as you say, weather, right? Thunderstorms and a single engine piston, not really good buddies. But it turns out that even rockets have trouble with convective activity. So there we go.
There it is.
It was such a bummer that the launch was scrubbed yesterday. But I'm looking.
What was it like 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, or something?
Well, guess what? The same kind of weather is going to be around on Saturday. So
that's what they're saying. It's not looking good. But this is the thing: you never know. And so, as a pilot, whether you're in a rocket or you're in a small plane, you get ready and you hope for the best. And if you get your window, you take it. If you're not ready, you don't have that option. So we'll see what happens.
Good business advice.
Okay, so
you're very wise.
Right. So you were just here with us last week, and you weren't really gonna be here this week, but something brought you back this week. Some topic brought you back. So I am turning it over to Elle Nicole to talk about the topic that brought her back this week.
It's funny how some of the best conversations we have are the ones that are when we're not actually on camera with everybody else. I think that's what happened last week, because we were just chatting after the show and we were talking about the future. I mean, Paul, I'm trying to remember how we teed this one up when we were just chatting, but to your point, Brent, we were talking a little bit about what the future is going to look like. And I think where we got onto this conversation was, what do we think is really going to happen versus what is wishful thinking? And that's a difficult line to distinguish, I think, at this point. And I sort of come at this as certainly an optimist, but I think also something of a realist with a capital R. And
wait a minute, you're an optimist and a realist. So
I know it's an odd combination. I'm
like
also
an optometrist or something. What's going on?
No, it's split personality. Don't know. But the interesting question that we were kicking around is, what does the future, particularly of customer experience, look like, especially in an environment where, and this is my take, we finally have an incontrovertible, unavoidable, let's call it opportunity to really tackle this challenge of digital customer experience. Because I think, these technologies have been around for a while. We're talking about stuff, social media has been around for a decade-ish, right? A little bit more in some cases. And the reality is that whether we're talking about social media or other digital channels, for many companies, I don't think they've actually come to terms with really trying to re-envision what it is they do as a business and the way that they want to interact with their customers, and what they want their customers to do and think and feel ideally for these digital channels. It's often been kind of an offshoot, or in some cases an afterthought. So whether it's the fact that although individuals are great often on social media, companies generally are pretty bad, and I'm sure we can talk more about that. Or the fact that, for example, a lot of companies out there still have totally segregated online commerce strategies from whatever they might be doing in a brick and mortar context, right? Whether that's retail or consumer facing stuff, or even business to business organizations, right? There's been this kind of Chinese wall between what they're doing online and what they're doing in a more traditional kind of person to person, face to face kind of interaction. And for me, what I find really fascinating about the current scenario is that there's really not much else at this point, right? If you're not dealing in digital channels, at least to some degree, and it doesn't matter whether you're a mom and pop shop or a great big enterprise, if you aren't really carefully thinking about how you do this and what those kinds of customer interactions and experiences look like and how they fit into a more cohesive whole, you're really missing an opportunity. And that's not just a short-term get through the panic stages, right? I mean, at this point, it is very clear that the next year, at least, is going to be very difficult to predict. And the one thing that you can really be assured of is that you're going to have to adapt to whatever circumstances arise that you might or might not have had a good ability to anticipate in advance. So digital channels are certainly going to remain really, really important, even as things come back online, even as, stores reopen and offices reopen and more stuff is happening in person. I think we're going to see the proportions of those activities continue to fluctuate. And I don't think we're going to see the centrality of this, digital aspect of customer experience go away. So why not make the most of this opportunity to really do what I think is arguably the most effective counter-cyclical investment you could make as a business right now, and really try to crack the nut, really try to figure it out. Well, so that's kind of my opening gambit in this one.
Well, to your point, the earlier efforts, which things like, say, Frank Eliason's efforts at Comcast to utilize the channels, were kind of figuring out how to do a traditional function in a digital channel, which was, in Frank's case, it was pioneering and revolutionary what he did. And, however, the long-term impact of those kind of things were pretty much locking in, we're using this thing online to do what we always did.
Yeah.
But there was one other facet to it, which was kind of dangerous, which was, let's say this, it was important but dangerous. It created the conditions so that if, let's, for example, take what Frank did, right? Customer service via Twitter, and a response time, and this is kind of the key part, a response time of 1 to 2 hours, no matter what. That was his initial plan. The expectation for all channels, regardless, would be they phone, email, became the same, meaning the expectation of the customer came, the best result I get in a channel should be the result I get in all channels, which is literally not even possible, actually. And consequently, it led to just frantic, upset customers who got angry because they weren't getting the highest level of service from the other channels. And it completely skewed the idea of the customer experience. It became actually a negative over time, even though, and not uniformly. I don't want to say there was nothing good about it. It's not true. But it actually had an unintended negative consequence. And that consequence just enraged customers more. Well, I was able to get an answer on Twitter in an hour, but I needed this answer on the phone, and it's been 4 hours now, right? Or I needed an email from you, and it's been 3.5 hours. Right? I needed a text I still haven't gotten, right? Those kind of things are what, and so what you ended up having was pretty much social versions of traditional issues, right? Which is customer service agents scrambling frantically to figure out how to put out a fire, which doesn't go to what you're talking about at all, because it's basically reactive and continuous, right? And I think that that's been a big a lump that's been sitting there, for years, and creates an enormous issue, because what you're talking about needs completely new kind of thinking. Well, no, it needs more new thinking, because there's been some new thinking.
Yeah, I think it's about extending the scope of that thought process, right? And it's certainly extending that scope beyond single channels, but it's also extending it to, I think, a broader question of how you as a business want to interact with and engage with your customers. Because, there are a couple of big challenges inherent in the example that you just gave, Paul, right? One is trying to segment the type of communication according to the channel, right? And this is a problem that I think all companies have, especially with social media, but not only with social media, right? So there's a very crude division of labor that says marketing is outbound and customer service is inbound. And we don't know what sales is doing on social media because nobody's really paying attention, even though we know they're probably using it, right? So what you get is a kind of ungodly mess of stuff, particularly because customers don't necessarily have a binary approach to the way that they communicate, and they certainly have a broader set of expectations, right? So part of this is that segmentation of channels issue, and I don't necessarily want to go down the omni-channel route here, but my point is you have to both capitalize on the inherent capabilities of these media. Social networks are very different than other forms of communication because they're not strictly broadcast and they're not strictly one-to-one. They're sort of an interesting combination of the two, which means something very different for the way you interact effectively over them, right? But there are all these other digital channels too, some of which are broadcast, some of which are one-to-one, that you also need to manage and understand and incorporate into that consistent way that you're interacting with customers. And you need to think about it from the customer perspective, right? What do they want? What's going to work most effectively? And can you consistently cover that thread across all those different channels? And I think there's another part of this too, which is going back to the example that you gave, what does good customer service look like, regardless of which channel it's coming in from? And are you training your customers to figure out that there's one or two channels that you get better response from? Or are you really doing something that's designed to meet your customers' needs regardless of what their preferences are? So it is a much bigger set of questions, I think. And I also feel like there's an element of really trying to get back to the core principles of what you are as a business and what really matters to you as an organization, and what you think and believe matters to your customers, that you really want to be able to communicate regardless of how you're interacting with them, right? And that's where this consistency issue comes into play. So how can you take what might work if you're a traditional brick and mortar business and reinterpret that for digital channels, or vice versa in some cases, right? But how do you create something that feels like part of a consistent whole, no matter how you're engaging and interacting?
And I just want to jump in just for a second. Just a couple things here. We got breaking news. Let me bring this up here. Amazon is down.
That's broken news.
Amazon is down. Look at this.
Holy crap.
When's the last time you saw this?
Never.
Amazon is, I got my buddy Jeff Brathwaite, sent me a thing and said, hey, is Amazon, I've been trying to get on Amazon for the last 5 minutes. And I said, well, I'm in the middle of doing a LinkedIn Live, but I'm going to check.
It's up.
Is it back up? Let's see.
I'm looking at it now.
Well, maybe it's down in the Southeast.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, no kidding. That is weird, though.
Yeah, that is. Is anybody else? Dorothea, check Amazon. You're down here. This is like big news. Because if it's down in the Southeast, what does that mean? Is like Jeff Bezos getting back at all the red states that are backing Trump or something? I don't know.
He finally made his first trillion, so he can't be bothered with the Southeast.
All right. Well, I
can't get to it either. It's down for me as well, for what it's worth.
Really?
It really is.
Yep.
Hold on. Let me try again. Let me try one more time and hope maybe mine's a cash.
This could be troubling here. the world be coming to an end if Amazon is going down on us.
Mine keeps staying up.
Wow,
Look,
down from Germany too. With that,
all right, there's something going on there. Maybe because you're in the DC area, they got something going on with you.
Keeping headquarters up.
Hey, look, Heverton says, "Oh my God, it's my fault. I'm updating my books." Well, we will keep an eye on that one because we definitely need to know what's going on with Amazon.
Yeah, I got a couple things to order.
Yeah, Jeff, if you're out there, we would love to bring you in. We will give you the link, and Jeff Bezos, come on in and tell us what's going on. I had to break into that because it's distressing. Let's put it like that.
No kidding.
I know.
Okay. Now, getting back to the topic at hand, I just wanted to add a couple of things in and I actually have visual aids. That I'm going to yes, because over the last week and a half, had some really good conversations for the Small Biz Trends 101 series, and one with the gentleman you're seeing right there, my buddy Rodney Clark, who is VP IoT and Mixed Reality for Microsoft. And I had another great conversation with Dave Isvitsky, who is the chief evangelist for Amazon for Echo and Alexa. Oops. Okay, good. I think for a minute there, I thought I was going to set her off there. Since we're having this kind of conversation, I just love what Rodney said here, and this is kind of a little bit of a summarized quote. He's focused on IoT and mixed reality, and he deals with a lot of different customers doing a lot of different things, and international, all over the place, different industries. And he said this, and I kind of summarize it a little bit, but so we're going to be going cashless here. We're not there. It's already apparently half of the world is already cashless. This is going to force us to get to cashless faster. And here's the thing I really wanted to dig into. ATMs will allow you to engage and interact with voice, which is what I'm really focused on, and gesture. So being able to do things without being able to or having to touch stuff is going to get really big, really fast here. And on top of that, let's see if I can bring this other one up. Just to kind of back that point up, if I can get there, Google just announced testing authorizing payments with your voice. So you're seeing Microsoft, Rodney talking about this. You're seeing, of course, Amazon has definitely talked about this, and the post with Dave is going up tomorrow. And then you're seeing, Google starting to test this stuff out. I'm thinking that this pandemic is going to fast forward and speed up the voice stuff. And I'm not talking from just the consumer side of the house. I'm really thinking about the enterprise and B2B. I think you're going to want to be able to do touchless, use your applications more touchless than before, and make it easy. It's not just because you don't want to touch things. Of course, a lot of that is going on. But if you're able to make and design a system where you can speak naturally and get the stuff that you want out of it, why wouldn't you want to do that? And I think this just gives more of a reason why this will happen sooner rather than later, because I was starting to see a real lull in the voice stuff from an enterprise application experience outside of the consumer stuff. I think that's going to change, and it's going to change because of what's going on here.
I think you're right. I mean, the interesting thing to me is on the voice side, we're talking about potentially an entirely different way of interfacing with business applications. And we have really, really barely gotten even to scratching the surface on that one, because you can totally rethink what the interface with the user is and what a process flow looks like when you think of it in those terms. For me, I think where you see the most innovation in the enterprise application space on that is, it looks like Sven's saying Amazon.de works, Amazon.com does not. So interesting. Mm-hmm. The thing to me is that in sales, you really do see, I think, the biggest innovation in use of voice, because it really tends to fit in a let's call them normal circumstances, the way salespeople tend to work, right? Taking a voice memo or wanting to take the call after your meeting as you're driving back to wherever, and either update someone or update the system. I think there's definitely a sort of, from an anthropological standpoint, almost, it's a really sort of low barrier way of incorporating a lot of the admin work that salespeople really normally hate doing, but it's easier to do it with that voice assistant kind of stuff. So for me, that's where I think we've started to see some really interesting innovations. And I think we're going to see a whole lot more. And I think you're right. I think this is accelerating the thinking about that, because it's not just a different interface. It's a different way of thinking about the way that you work with business systems. And that's a much bigger question to try to comprehend, right? It's not the same as just like, oh, great, like the web browser interface looks a lot better and is cleaner. It's not the same thing.
Right. And maybe it was a lull because people didn't feel the urgency of, there's Mr. Greenberg back there. Maybe because people didn't feel the urgency because maybe, consumers weren't necessarily, needing them to do more and more of the things that they traditionally just did, with touch. But when you have the pandemic and it forces you not to be able to go out to a store and pick things up, and now you got to change things. And now, because the pandemic is forcing you to change, you're open to doing a lot of different things in a lot of different ways than you did previously. And once that door is open and you find out, wow, maybe some of these ways that we chose not to do before, but we have to do now, maybe we'll choose to do this way now, because now we realize it's a lot easier this way.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, if you talk to anybody, it does not apply to the three of us, but anybody who has started working from home full time as a result of the pandemic, who is used to working in an office, will tell you that just doing the same thing at home is really not at all good, right? Like that's, so it's like a great object lesson in digital transformation, right? Just doing the same things you did in the office from home, really not effective, right? Whether you're talking about meetings or the way you use time or the way you communicate either with individual colleagues or with groups of colleagues, you really have to rethink that in order to get it right. Oh, it's back up.
Amazon is back up in the South, folks. Thanks.
Try it here too. The world is right once again.
Yes, there it is.
All right. But it is kind of an interesting thing because it forces you to really get back to, and I guess this is what I'm saying when I talk about getting to grips with what you want to provide as a business through digital customer experiences. What are those core things that you're really trying to accomplish, and what are the best ways of getting there? Because they're not the same as when you're all sitting in the same office. And sometimes you see real gaps that you didn't realize existed in your processes or your communication approaches because it didn't matter, because everybody was more or less, in the same location. One of the fascinating things for me, and I laugh a little bit when I hear this because I've experienced this firsthand as well, is companies figuring out that remote meetings work a lot better when everybody has their own sort of digital connection to the meeting, as opposed to having a meeting room full of people with a few remote folks. It doesn't work very well because we're not all on equal footing. But something like this, where we're all logged in from our computers, we're all at home with our screens and our microphones and our audio, we have a level playing field. So the way that we interact here is very much on par. There's no one who's advantaged in that particular communication dynamic, right? These things also apply when we think about how we need to change our operations for dealing with customers through digital channels. It's also really, really important. And sometimes it's the little stuff that trips you up.
Well, again, we're operating from traditional.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I think we just lost him again.
But he is frozen deep in thought. So
he is really, and it's a shame because it's time for the watch list winner segment too, because we have our buddy Esteban Kolsky getting ready to come on, and we need Paul to talk about why SAP is on the watch list. And he looks so calm, and
he does. I'm telling you, deep in thought.
This is a first. We usually don't see this. All right. I guess we just got to keep talking because I was really primed and ready to go to the watch list segment. But hey, I'm gonna put. Let's see. I think I had something else. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's Esteban showing up. I'm gonna bring Esteban in.
It would be funny to get the Esteban version and then go back and get the Paul version.
Look at it. So you've got good timing because our buddy Paul just like froze and then dropped off the face of the earth.
I can understand that. This is pretty sad because I actually bought this T-shirt especially for you and Paul. For my support of the Red Sox playing the best yet.
Yeah, that is perfect from coming from you. That's just great.
Thank you.
Anyways, we need to officially introduce you because you're not just one of the four horsemen anymore. You actually have a real title, like a real job. You wanna. I guess I'll say who you are. You are Esteban Kolsky. You are the head of CX strategy for SAP. Did I get it right, sir? Did I get it right?
Sure. Sounds good enough to be right. Sounds like an important job with a paycheck and a deliverable at the end of the day.
Oh, and look who's back with us. Are you back with us?
Something happened. I just went down twice.
Are you tweeting Comcast, Paul?
Seriously, you're wearing the SAP T-shirt, dude?
Literally.
I wore my sports T-shirt for you,
and I wore the SAP T-shirt for you too.
So wait a minute. So since you're back, I'm going to ask Esteban to chill out, cool out a little bit, listen, and hear what you have to say about why SAP is on the watch list. So we will bring Esteban back as soon as you are done. Yeah. If I can only find a way to get rid of it.
I don't crash again. That was twice. So SAP watch list. Okay, here's why. So SAP is a fascinating company if you've looked at them over the years, and I have. I've known them for a couple of decades, really. And, they are deeply embedded in pretty much the world's processes in the world. And, if you want to look at it in sort of semi-traditional terms, you could say the kind of the world's industrial processes, but they've gone, of course, well beyond that now with things like CX and the acquisitions they've made over the last few years and so on and so forth. And they've also understood, and another reason, which is they've aligned themselves well with an understanding of the market and have built from a product domain standpoint, have built sufficiently important products to actually impact those markets. So for example, a product they had many years ago was they had supplier relationship management. And it was actually, at the time, it was the first product to fully understand the role suppliers played and the impact they had on customers and the relationships and partnerships and ecosystems you had to have around those suppliers in order to make your business work. And they had built out the technology for that. Fast forward, more than a decade later, and then you're looking at SAP with, for example, a domain area for digital supply chain. And arguably, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm looking at the technologies which I have, although I don't pretend to be the expert by any means in supply chain, but a leading, if not the leading, digital supply chain product. So again, they've understood the market that's evolved, especially on the back end and somewhat in the front end, to really get a sense of what they need to do, and then they've gone and built appropriate products. About 2 years ago, they came out with an overarching marketing approach, an overarching theme for the company, which actually has served them incredibly well, which is intelligent enterprise. Now, you have to understand something. If a company is making that kind of global theme as kind of their core theme, they have to be able to stand it up, right? Meaning, one, their product and platform have to actually meet that theme. The way they operate as a company has to meet that theme. The ecosystems they put in place have to meet the theme. And SAP actually is arguably one of the 2 or 3 companies in the world that actually can meet that theme. because you got to keep in mind what intelligent enterprise implies is there's software, hardware, services, microservices, people, process, and people. I don't want to say people, process, technology, because I hate that. I actually hate that as much as that's the core of everything we all talk about. To me, that's just the acronym for PowerPoint, right? So, right. So, the thing is that they actually have to, intelligent enterprise has to literally be able to encompass every single facet of that. And every single facet has to meet that need as an intelligent enterprise. SAP and maybe Oracle and sort of Microsoft can make the claim, and that's it. No one else can even make the claim. And SAP has been consistently supportive and has gone to market with that and has done very well going to market. Now, the thing with SAP that you also have to see is that they're underestimated in some things they do. Like, for example, one of the things that came out very strongly in the watch list this year was how well they actually accessed and used social channels, right? And that sounds like, oh, big deal, but no, it's actually a big deal. Because we all know, because we see lots of public activity around social channels, and it's part of what we do as analysts and part of what we do as, as just watching the world. There's certain companies we think are great on social channels, and certain companies we think are not so great. Now, the companies we think are great are kind of the obvious ones. We think like companies like Salesforce are really good about that, and so on and so forth. But, interestingly enough, SAP actually has better numbers more as often as not than Salesforce does on the back end, right? When you start looking at the numbers they get in terms of social reach. Right. They also know how to manage social channels and utilize them. So one of the things that they've done with me and several others, I think Brent's done one, I don't know if Nicole you have yet, but I'm sure you will, are these tweet chats. Right. I remember the very first one I gave, and anecdotally, it gives you an indicator of the value of these things. The very first one I did was a couple of years ago on customer service. And I remember Margot Holligman, who was one of my favorite human beings at SAP, told me that 1 hour tweet chat got as much traffic as that channel got typically in a week. It wasn't because of the great people on it. We were all fine. But the reality is it was because of how they manage it, how they plan it, how they execute against it. They're superb at actually getting out social activity, communicating that and doing well. And, the other thing they've done, and, so here's an interesting thing too. And it's probably one of the more interesting pieces. One of the things which I think I've talked about a little bit on the watch list, which is that I have a subtraction on your final score that I call transitional uncertainty. And as an analyst, I may think a new leadership or a change in leadership is good for the company, but that doesn't matter. It's still a deduction normally, right? And it's a serious deduction because ultimately, if you think about what the watch list does, it says here's the impact we had in the year, but we also have to have impact 3 years out. Now, this came at a time when Bill McDermott had just left and Jen Morgan and Christian Klein had just taken over as co-CEO, and Bob Stutz was just going to head up CX, and Esteban wasn't quite there yet, but was on the way to going there, which is enormous transitional shift, and really would bring into doubt the impact for the next 3 years because there's no way to typically judge it. This is one of the first cases I've ever had where that transitional uncertainty, even though the negative score was applied, was overcome by the positives in the actual transition itself. And again, I'm not viewing it as an analyst. I'm viewing it as how much can I be assured of the impact and change that will bring to the organization based on history, based on, anticipated market shifts, et cetera, et cetera. This is the first time in history that happened with the watch list in 15 years, where the transitional uncertainty was overcome by the power of the positive impact of the change in the leadership. And that was remarkable, truly. So again, unfortunately, because, we have to limit these a little bit and we're starting to run up against time, I'll stop with that. But understand something, that SAP, with ups and downs they may have, like any other company, is a force, and it's a powerful company, and it has an impact, and it's had impact year over year over year, which has been something that's actually either it's made the market. It's one of the significant organizations that made the market as big as it is and what it is, and also as innovative it is. And that's what I'm going to close with, this one last nugget, which is the other thing which people are unaware of, but this comes across very powerfully when you start digging into SAP and actually the impact they are having, is the level of innovation that they are continually engaging in, right? And I remember time after time at Palo Alto and the labs where I would see these remarkable innovations. One which I think I've spoken about on the air before, because it's the only one I'm certain is still not under NDA, right? Is this drone that had SAP software embedded in the drone and sensors that would go to rural power lines. This was built for the utilities industry, and it would measure the power usage on those rural power lines in mountains so that people didn't have to go do it, right? And there was a funny story part of that too, was they decided they were going to show me the drone. This is probably 5 years ago, actually, but they're probably just show me the drone, and they powered it up and literally almost killed me. Right? The thing, like, literally, if I hadn't ducked, it would have slammed right into my head. Right? So, needless to say, I kept it under NDA, for my personal NDA, for good reason. Right? It could also have been turned into a murder weapon. Right? So, but that's the power of SAP, is that an intelligent enterprise. I don't want anyone here to underestimate how important that concept is to the company as a whole, because it is the make or break concept for their present and future. And they have to, as long as they stick to that, and I don't have time to go through the 3 things they should do better. I don't do that with any of them now. But as long as they stick to that, the chances of being a formidable force with people like Esteban and Bob in place are actually substantial.
Hey, Paul, by the way, did you see Esteban's t-shirt?
Oh, he already showed it to me.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
That's why I'm wearing that.
Just to tell you, I was challenged by Craig Rosenberg of Topo Research.
Yeah.
Now Governor. He challenged me to wear a Red Sox t-shirt and hat to show today.
If you don't match, SAP would have looked for another person on the show. Oh, you're the one person I look for.
I have to say that I took the challenge, and then I said I cannot do that to my friends.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't care about the Red Sox. They'll come on here looking like Bill Belichick. That would have been it.
Look, you're pestilence, for God's sake. You're pestilence. What more could you?
Your pestilence, for God's sake.
That's my next t-shirt. That's my next t-shirt.
You say. All right.
I'm pestilent, for God's sake. I'm pestilent.
Okay, so after hearing all those, quite impressive reasons why SAP is on the watch list, what do you have to say about this? You used to be on our side of the block. Yeah. Now you're on the other. So tell us what you're thinking.
So 2 things. Number one, thank you. I do agree with you on the intelligent enterprise message. But once an analyst, always an analyst. I still wish we were further ahead from where we are in the implementation of that message, right? We know what happens when you don't execute well on messages like that. Let's say, I don't know, social enterprise rings a bell, right? So, we don't want to be the next social enterprise victim. We think that we do deliver value. We think that we do have the components. I'm frustrated by in the short 5 months I've been here for the lack of embracing that message a little deeper. So we are taking that, not what you said, but we're taking the message very seriously, and we're actually trying to deliver on that. I can throw any buzzword that you want at you. Hey, we're an insight-driven platform ecosystem model, but the reality is like we are doing what our customers are asking us to do. So that's the best way to summarize that.
So let's start looking at the CX side of it, because that's the side that effectively and needs the more substantial work, and you and Bob are pretty much, you and Bob and the teams associated with you guys are pretty much doing that. So how is that shaping up? I mean, what's kind of the given what you can talk about, what's kind of the plan for CX?
Oh, so I mean, Nicole and you, Brent didn't make it because he was busy being Brent. But Nicole and you were in the call a couple of weeks ago, right? I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. And times merged together in this COVID lockdown. So
I've lost track of time, but yes, I remember there was a call and we were on it.
It was one of the 7 Mondays we have every week, so I don't remember which Monday it was. So you were in that call, and you saw what we're kind of trying to introduce going forward. We're trying to take the product forward in the way that we see the market going, right? I mean, part of my being here, part of Bob being here, is we saw an opportunity, and I said this before. I wrote about it before in my blog. I see SAP has a tremendous opportunity to execute, and we feel that the execution has been not there. And that's part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that the execution matches with the promise. What you said about the ability that we have to deliver on that concept is true, and we're trying to focus on that. We're trying to build the ecosystem. We're trying to build the platform. We're trying to build all these components that we've been talking about, and I'm pretty much with Bob, but I mean, my job is to make sure that everybody aligns with the message and everything that goes forward is aligned with the message, right? And Bob is making sure that the product gets done.
So what are some of the product, what the sort of forward-looking product side? Because that's something we don't hear much about from anybody these days, except maybe Salesforce every now and then. But from SAP standpoint, what is the kind of product itself looking like?
I mean, I have to be a little vague because announcements that we're going to be making Sapphire and CX Live later in the year that I cannot open the kimono totally, right? But it's true that we're focused on an ecosystem, right? We're building a platform that is next generation, that we're actually powering an ecosystem. We're focused on insights as the basis for what we do. We're taking a digital first approach. We're building this platform that would allow our customers to leverage, all these wonderful technologies from the cloud to go forward. I mean, there's details that I can share, but think about what would be great if you could do everything that you wanted to do for a CX platform. And then think about that. I thought about that 10 years ago, and I'm putting it together now.
So we just have to wait like 5 minutes and it'll all be there, right?
Yeah. I often been told that my timing considerations are incorrect. And when I say 5 minutes, it actually means 2 years.
Hey, all right. So I got to ask you. So, I mean, before you made it over to SAP, you had a pretty consistent track record of being kind of tough on them. Would you say that?
Yep.
Okay. So, wow, I just all of a sudden sound like a lawyer. I didn't mean.
Yeah, that's right.
It sounded really good, man.
Objection overruled.
So, you have certain kind of objectives and targets that you want to hit. Let's say you don't hit them. How would you react if you were still on this side of the house if you didn't hit the objectives that you had?
It's funny you ask that question because I had that conversation with Elizabeth, who's my poor partner that puts up with me on a daily basis through 7 lockdown that we have imposed on us with the 2 dogs and the 2 cats and the 2 kids. Just to get a perspective where I live. But I actually had a similar conversation because, I mean, one of my biggest fears is like I won't get to do what I want to do. Seriously. There's many things that are out of my control. There's 100,000 people in the company. I'm merely one, and Bob is another. So that's two of us against 99,998 people, basically, right? So it's this type of change for a company, embracing a concept like intelligent enterprise and executing, deploying. It's a monumental task of change management and culture. Sorry, Paul, culture, process, technology, and all these things, right? So there's a chance that we won't get there. There's a chance that we won't get there in the 5 minutes or 2 years that I think it should take to get there, right? So I often think about it. I when people ask me how long I'll be at SAP, I keep saying I'll be here until they tell me to leave, because I want to make sure that this gets done. I don't get to control whether people agree with me or not, but I get to control what I'm putting through, and what I'm putting through is the best effort to make sure that this gets done. So, but like anybody else, I lose sleep over the ability to deliver what I think that I should deliver. Or maybe that's just only me, but that everybody else goes through the same,
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a question for you, Esteban. So, we've talked about your views on SAP before you joined, and obviously you've got your take now.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what for you was either the biggest pleasant surprise in the portfolio, or what you characterize as the like most unsung gem of the SAP CX portfolio?
Hey, who's banging? Somebody's banging.
Yeah, it's the roofers.
The
Sorry.
roofers are back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
My time is over.
So I'm trying to say it as nicely as I can. I think we can all, as analysts, so that I'm not the only one going down for this comment. I think that we're all an analyst can agree that the strategy for SAP over the last few years has been a little lackluster when it comes to CX and CRM. So at least if you don't agree with me, nod your head so I don't go down alone on this one, right? So, and the thing that impressed me the most is like, as much as I fully believe that strategy is what drives execution, right? Execution has been incredible for SAP with the lackluster strategy that they had, and where all the different products for the CX solutions were, or the product pillars were, is ahead of what I expected them to be. So that was the most pleasant surprise. The most shocking part is how hard it is to change 100,000 minds at once.
That's shocking.
Really?
Dude, I'm an influencer. This would be a slam dunk,
That's right, but you influence stuff on Etsy.
Wow. Well, I will say this for you. You come on our show, you come on the CRM Playaz, and Amazon.com goes down for like 15 to 20 minutes.
And I blow out twice.
So,
and Paul goes down twice.
Right.
It's the magnetic force of Esteban.
He brought the pestilence.
Ripples in the universe.
He brought the serious pestilence with him today, man. I tell you.
I honestly keep thinking that I bring bad luck wherever I go. So I hope it's not true what you're saying.
Well, I think it's kind of, we call it pestilence, but it's digital pestilence, meaning it's like malware and right, things like that.
Digital pestilence. Yeah.
I literally never go down. This system literally never go down.
You have files. I live in a place where, like, if I get 150K, awesome, here. So you have files. You should never go down.
Twice.
But, so by the way, that's the next T-shirt. It's like, I'm technology pestilence. So thank you for that. I'm gonna keep putting T-shirts out there until somebody gets tired.
I'm telling you, man, 6-timer, 5 T-shirts.
Hey, you want to join us for our last bit? We got a very quick protect the identity, but not the stupidity. Yeah, that's why you want to hang out there with us for this?
Oh, I never believe that people are stupid. So when I see
that's really the funniest thing.
I think your starting assumption was that people are.
Right.
All right, here we go. This one is literally right off the presses here. Let me pop that. I might have to give this the full screen treatment here. All right. So I literally just got this yesterday. Of course, it's a follow-up to an email I think I got from the same person in a couple of days previous. I blocked out most of it because it's really not all. The other stuff is fine. Here's what I didn't like about this. Circling back to see if you've had a chance to review my previous message. Exclamation point. That's the part I didn't like. I did not like the exclamation point. Why are you giving me the exclamation point? Like I was supposed to get back to you because you sent me something and you expect me to answer right away. Somebody I don't know who they are. And quite honestly, the stuff that's in the email wasn't all that interesting. So you could have just said, hey, had you had a chance to look at the email? Or I just thought I'd send this again just in case you didn't get it. But the exclamation point is why I do not like this email.
Well, take a look at the next sentence, which isn't exactly a sentence that's all that, let's say, tactful.
Oh, they just went right back into the pitch.
The current pandemic has created a market opportunity and major need for business owners to incorporate digital marketing into that toolbox. Yet many just don't know where to begin. Yeah, because they're locked down. Some of them are in the hospital, right? I mean, it's like, holy crap.
Well, you need to give them an easier way to tell all their customers that they're in it with them, right? So,
yeah. But I'm not one of their customers. I mean, this is you could have. The message just goes right back. I think it was literally cut and paste from the first one. Like they put the exclamation point sentence in, and then they just cut and pasted the rest of the stuff in.
Listen,
can I rewrite that sentence for you? In these unprecedented times where we're all together, I wanted to make sure you saw my previous email.
Exclamation point. There.
These things circling back. I mean, you get the people who go the third time, the fourth time, they come back. And I usually, when I get it the third time, I send a note saying, there's actually a reason why I haven't responded to you because I don't want to. Right. So, right. I mean, it's like, haven't you got the hint?
Yeah, but there's something about that exclamation point that just pissed me off.
No, because they're very excited about the fact that they're circling back and
it's the attempted shaming for not responding. My favorite was I got a thread of these messages that I had no intention of replying to, and my favorite was the last one that said, effectively, I'm warning you, this is the last time I'm going to send you a message. And I was great, please, I hope so.
Oh my
God.
Oh God, I better respond.
That's right. I need to get more like this right now.
So this is what I think you should do. You should reply to that and say, holy moly, how could I have missed your first email? You made me go back and look, and yes, I'm still not interested.
I hate those emails. It's like PR people usually send them. Though it's usually PR people who want to give you the opportunity to talk to the CEO of their company because you're a reporter working for ZDNet. That's mine.
Yeah,
first get that all the time. What story are you working on?
Yeah,
not one about you.
The story of life.
Nothing that involves you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Oh my God, I hate that. Ugh.
All right. I just had to share that one with you guys.
Fair enough.
This is that exclamation point that just put it over the top.
That's my fourth T-shirt, just an exclamation point. You're gonna put out Brent Leary with an exclamation point at the end.
Damn it! Put a damn it at the end of that too.
Damn it! That'd be like Kimmy Schmidt.
Doesn't it feel good to have Esteban back? In the fold, and
always.
You're gonna make me cry.
Always.
It's just in the immortal words of remember Apocalypse Now. I love the smell of napalm. I love the smell of pestilence in the morning.
Yeah, it's funny. At least I've never said that.
Oh boy!
He's gonna be after this, but it's okay. It's worth it.
I almost hate to say this. We got to end this, but we got to end this. So let us say thanks to our. He's our guest, but he's not a real guest.
No, just a member of the fam.
That's
seriously,
right.
I fulfill my duties by saying thank you, Paul, for making SAP part of the watch list and the nice words you said. I am. Thank you. Yes, I am hiring for an evangelist if you're looking for a position. It should be open in 2022 when they hire.
You don't need to hire Esteban. Paul's doing it anyway. So yeah.
But, it's the one time I'm willing to be nice to companies.
I appreciate that.
It's literally, I have 13 companies I'm going to be nice to this year, and they're the ones I'm doing this for.
Yeah.
Because why you won? I got to tell you one thing. I actually have people who say, "Well, why don't you criticize them?" I said, "This is why they won the watch list. I'm not there sit there and say why they're bad. I'm saying why they're good." Right. That's the idea. They won. They won a grueling, nasty process.
Well, when I was an analyst, one of the rules that I always held steady to is like, you praise in public and criticize in private. There's no point in putting anybody down, in public. You may bring up some issues that they need to work, right? But that's not a criticism. You're not going to go and say like, oh, these guys are horrible. They said this and they never did. There's no point to that. There's no point to that.
Oh, that's reporting a fact, apparently. They said never did this. Look, I don't actually have a problem. Honestly, I do criticize companies in public, but it's measured and it's specific. And it's always for a reason, which is the only way I'm going to get them to hear what I'm saying in this particular case is if I do it this way. But if my preference has always been make a call, talk to them about it, be proactive if you need to be. Don't worry about that. What can you lose, really? I mean, the odds of them listening are 1 out of 100 anyway. Right? Well, it's true. I mean, it's not that they won't hear you, but they won't listen to you. That's a different story. They hear you and they're nice enough to take the call, so to speak. But acting on it's a whole other story. And ultimately, you can't worry about it. But if I do it publicly, it's for a very specific reason. And it's always, I think about it. And I also, a lot of times it's companies I'm actually advising already. Meaning I actually have an engagement with, so I have to be 100% clear. I don't care. You can cut the contract if you want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to comment anyway. And well, it's true. I made that decision a long time ago that I'm willing to lose the contracts if I have to make that decision. If I have to make the comment publicly, I'm going to make it publicly. When I'm an advisor to a company, they're my client. When I'm an analyst, the public's my client, not them. And if they're going to get the worst side of it, and if it comes down to public versus company, public wins. So it's just going to be that way.
Awesome.
And on that note, this has been a good, I was going to say good hour, but it's been a really good hour because it's been 73 minutes.
Well, technically, if you take out Paul's freestyles, it's been 45 minutes.
Well, we did get a bit sidetracked with the earth-shattering news that Amazon.com had gone down for a few minutes too. So, and we also got a little sidetracked trying to find out why Sven can't get his name up on the comments from LinkedIn. We still don't know exactly what's going on.
I was going to say we're still sidetracked on that one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens to that now that we've solved Amazon problem.
Weeks long.
All right. So in the meantime, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
I'm Nicole France.
Go ahead.
We are all CRM players at heart, at least. And we would like to say thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for Excuse the Intrusion, if you like sports. If you want to see a touchdown swing, like what Esteban is showing right there. Thanks again, folks. See ya.
Thank you.